Hi, friends, and welcome back to the Living on Lemonade podcast. I am your host, Lauren. Today, this is a topic that for today's topic is one that I have been thinking about, and I guess maybe I just wasn't ready to talk about it. There's been a little bit of being in my head about it. It is vulnerable. However, I have started talking about it more, and it's something I want to kind of continue down that path. It's about my kind of body image journey, and there's that part of me that's like, hesitant because it is a vulnerable topic. And there's also the part of me that says just wait till you're out of the woods and fit again and stuff and then talk about your journey. But truthfully, I know that I'm not the only one going through this. And anyone who judges me for the path that I'm walking or have been on has nothing to do with me. So reminding myself of those things, I think this is a powerful thing to kind of talk about and dissect a little bit, because I've come into these really beautiful realizations and understanding lately that have helped me on this journey. And I just know that unlike other times when I felt the need to lose weight to quote unquote fix myself, this one is more, it's a different approach. Okay, how do I want to start this? So I have talked about in previous episodes, even just like mentioning it and not having it as the actual topic, but talking about how the aftermath of my dad's death and the discord and chaos and betrayal that happened within the family structure, really it knocked me. It felt like I was kicked while I was down. And it was the darkest time of my entire life, and I truly wasn't sure some days if I would survive it. I talked about this in the last episode a little bit. Now, with the personal development and especially with like a spiritual lens, I guess I've always been kind of spiritual. I didn't really embrace it until a few years ago. It has been so like soul nourishing to me to approach life and to be open to different, I guess, belief systems and modalities to walk this journey in this, what one of my mentors calls a meat suit in our bodies as humans. It's just added a beauty to the experience and a wisdom of understanding that has helped me to navigate these difficult times. And one of the things that I've been learning about and starting to really embody over the last few months is the importance of uh, identity in everything. When we think about the choices that we make, they are based on our beliefs, our thoughts, our feelings. They all drive our actions, which create our results. And the undercurrent of that, when we think about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, is the subconscious is what really drives our conscious experience. And our subconscious mind was built and programmed in those first years of life. It's like we come into this world not having the wisdom of things. We look at what's around us. This goes for our beliefs and our whole experience of life. I'm also diving into the somatics, like nervous system stuff, and they talk about how important connection is between a baby and their caretakers, just in developing their nervous system. Their little nervous systems are wired based on, it's a mirror really of what their caregiver's nervous system is. So if the parent or caregiver's nervous system is dysregulated, the baby cannot properly build their own nervous system. So there's just this all to say there's so much that goes on that kind of wires us in those few first years of development, and then we have these experiences that when we look back might not seem significant, but in those moments while we're still kind of building and developing and our brain's still developing, it can be they can be more influential than we realize, and they can then kind of instill or oh, what's the word I want to say? I think it starts with a P. I can't think of the word. Imp- impression? Impressionate? I don't know if that's it. There's something along those lines. It has a P in it. But these beliefs, these core beliefs that we have that we then carry, and if these beliefs are tied to our identity, it makes it harder to kind of rework later in life. With this journey I've been on post losing my dad and going through what I did with the family and then gaining a bunch of weight. I'm at the heaviest I've been ever. And just feeling kind of stagnant, I guess, in my body. But then now that I'm out of that darkness, out of that really like survival mode, looking back, I see, well, for one, there's kind of two things that contributed to this. One, I stopped moving. I just spent a lot of time in bed and sleeping. So I wasn't moving my body and giving it what it needed. And two, we look at nutrition as well. What I realized really heavily is one of my vices when I'm in that kind of survival, numbing, escapism mode is I turn to sugar, and we know how detrimental sugar can be to our body and weight gain too, right? So those were in order to walk this journey in a like holistic and loving, nurturing way outside. I'm choosing not to do the fix it energy. There's something broken about me. Those behaviors were wired in me in certain ways, which I'll explain a little bit, to survive what I was going through. There's lots of ways that humans escape things. We all do it. We all have vices. Some people turn to drinking. Some people turn to drugs. Some people sleep. Some people eat, overeat, or just choose the wrong types of food. Some people zone out with Netflix, movies, scrolling social media. There's so many ways that we essentially the bottom line of this, and there's many different ways that we can do it, but the bottom line is we choose these things to take us out of the present moment, take us out of our body in a sense, so that we're not feeling the feels that are uncomfortable and sometimes quite painful because it's a defensive mechanism that our subconscious and our body has that we default to when we're in the survival mode because it's like we just need for me it's like we just need to keep her alive, keep her so she doesn't feel too much, because if it's too much it could lead to, obviously catastrophic results. So my vice is sleeping and sugar. The first steps so that I can walk this journey from a place of healing is to understand that I am where I am. Even if we don't have to love it, we never have to love it, right? But there's an acceptance piece that is crucial, to just accept that, yes, I am quite a bit heavier and um, it's uncomfortable, but I made choices during that time, not thinking about how I would feel in my body, but thinking about needing to escape my body because the life events that were happening were too painful to be fully present. And this is even with me putting a lot of the tools in place. And it's now I have even better tools to manage these things going forward. But I really had to get honest with myself, and instead of shaming myself of you should have done these things differently, you should have moved your body, should. Well, you know how I feel about shoulds. It's just a matter of I did what I could to survive at the time, and that had to be enough, right? I'm still here. Like I said, there were days where I wasn't sure if I would. I wasn't sure if I would survive it, quite honestly. It was the pain was beyond words. The next thing that I started to explore, and it's interesting because I have kind of three mentors that I work with here and there for different things. One's my kind of business and spiritual coach. Another, she does business coaching as well. She's kind of my intuitive coach. And then I have one that's like intuition, mediumship. That's like really deep dive with her. So similar but different. And then depending on what I'm needing in the moment, I know which coach to kind of reach out to and either join a program or just do a session with. Through those, a couple of the coaches and programs I've done, or one of them, it's a monthly kind of uh, group container where we do monthly calls and intuition development with each other, and also some guidance coaching. There was one day that my coach led us through a meditation, and I don't even remember the exact I don't remember the exact, like, what exactly she was saying, but it led me to a past version of myself, and it had to do with body image because this has been something that's been on my mind lately, and I'm starting to shift some of my habits and do it in a sustainable way. And what was really interesting is when we went into the meditation, I was brought back to being a teenager in an American Eagle change room, and some of the feelings around trying on clothes. And I remember one time, like, just it kind of signified to me how, because my mom would make comments sometimes, and we we do the best with what we have at the time. So there's no I'm not criticizing or anything. I'm just this part of the story. But it kind of like it brought it a little bit full circle because my grandma has also been like it's been brought down the line essentially with body image and making comments. And now I understand that it wasn't a reflection of me. It was a reflection of her and her that she got from her mom, and so on and so forth. But realizing, when I was back in that change room, seeing that teenage version of myself who really at the time, like, wasn't overweight. I've always, since I hit puberty and kind of filled out, I have a bigger figure, but I'm also tall. I'm 5'10". So it's, I don't think I've ever really, been like a, what would I call a skinny mini. I guess when I was little, I was pretty skinny, but, um yeah, a lot of this stuff just what I wasn't even mine in the first place, but I kind of took it on as if it was my own beliefs. And yeah, I didn't always love going and trying on clothes and getting new stuff. If I found something I loved, I would like keep buying it because it was just easy for me. I've just Yeah, it's really, when I think about it now, I don't love clothes shopping. It's something I have to do every once in a while, but unlike other women, I do not like it. I'm in and out, I'm very intentional. It's very rare that I would go and just like browse the racks. Okay, I feel like I'm rambling, but I do want to continue. In that space, it felt like I was present with my younger self. So I wasn't as my younger self again. I was present in my 34-year-old body with my younger self. And knowing what I know now through my experiences, through what I've learned in personal development and identity and stuff like that, I felt so much love, so much compassion, so much empathy towards that younger version of me, and I just wanted to hug her, and I think at one point it was like, "What is the message you want to display?" or whatever, or maybe that's where I took it. But just telling that younger version, and this is what we call inner child work, or, you can call it inner child, it can be really any age, right? This is where I told that inner part of me that still lives within me, because these parts can get triggered, um, and just telling her, like, "I got your back now. We have better tools. We have better understandings now to navigate this, and you don't have to worry about it." And this is the reparenting part. When we have more wisdom, more tools, we can, when we get hit on these things, or it comes into our awareness and we get these almost flashbacks of these younger versions of ourselves, we can go back and how do we give that younger part of us what we needed at that time that we didn't have? Now that we have the wisdom, now that we have the tools. So I gave her so much love, and it was so profound. I remember feeling very emotional about it. And when I shared it with the group, so many people were really hit on that too. Like they totally resonated. And it's really cool when you're in a group container like that, especially in kind of an intuitive with an intuitive lens. A lot of the themes that come up are something that everyone's kind of going through or really resonate with. It's very supportive. Next I want to go into, I don't know how long I've been. I should have checked the time when I started, but maybe this is just a longer episode, but it'll be worth it because it's really good. Next, I was in a program all about identity more recently. I'm still embodying it and really letting it soak in. And what we kind of went into was, again, like past selves, but understanding the drive behind some of the decisions that we make. And this one linked both my grief journey over the last 20 plus years and my body image journey. And what I realized, and my coach teaches, is about how sometimes we choose when we're going through something difficult or whatever, especially it's really based on times that we're dysregulated. We are more in like survival mode. We have to rely on those default settings, and or we're getting out of it, but we're not embracing the wisdom parts of us, the evolved parts of us that have better tools. So what can happen sometimes, and what happened with me, is after losing my dad, I was like, I was so deep into it. It was like all consuming, which uh, totally, totally valid, right? What I did realize was there was a part of me that was almost digging myself even deeper in the name of being loyal to the younger past parts of myself that have gone through these times and didn't have the support or the tools to navigate it with more grace and ease. So what I realized was I was identifying, and that can be oh man, it's tricky when we start to identify with things, because it becomes harder to detach because we attach to them. But I was identifying with the past versions of myself. Like if you've listened to the podcast for a while, especially the early episodes, I kind of brought you through at least till the end of my teens, and then I kind of went a different route. Maybe I'll go back there. I think I'm probably ready to talk about it. During those that whole um 12, when I lost Nicole, to like 19 and I had my first breakup. There was a lot of grief there. I lost Nicole, I lost my cat, I lost my grandpa, and a few people in between and stuff. And my default was really to, like, sleep. And I remember when my grandpa died, I would come home from school every day and go into my room, turn the lights off, close the door, and watch the movie What Dreams May Come, and I would nap, and it brought me comfort. That was my survival mechanism tool at the time just to, like, get through it. And there's a part of me that I realized was still, like, I have to honor that part of me. So I was really kinda defaulting to some of those behaviors despite the fact that I am now years older. I've done a lot of personal development, I've done a lot of soul searching, I have learned and embodied a lot of tools, but sometimes the tools go out the window when we default to the survival. So the understanding there and what I needed to kind of work with was realize that I can still support those younger parts of me without like instead of going defaulting back to those parts because I know better now, I have better tools and I'm better set up to navigate difficult times. I can support them in a different way by, yeah, just like loving on them and understanding and giving those inner parts of me that hurt, that aren't my present version, the love that I needed that I didn't have at the time, the support that I needed, without actually just defaulting to those patterns. So going forward, I'm going to be aware of that part, and I have to ask myself these behaviors, is this true to who I am today, or am I being loyal to a past version of myself? So those are those first two kind of heavy hitters. And this stuff it's profound, but it's really I came to them through working with coaches that can lead me through stuff, but you have to have an open mind. You have to have curiosity, childlike curiosity to be open to discovering these parts of yourself because when you do and it unlocks, it's actually quite beautiful and profound in a healing way of like, "Oh my gosh, I just need to love on that part of myself that still lives inside of me." So having said that, I'm gonna move on to sweets. And I had a memory come to me recently that I wasn't totally like aware of or thinking about too much. But I remember a couple times, or maybe it was a pattern, and this would have been in I would have been in my 20s because I was going to visit my grandma driving by myself. So I would have been in my 20s. And I was thinking like timeline wise, because again, when you start to like get all the parts, when did this happen? What was happening in my life at that time? We try to find kind of the root of it if we can. It's not always available to us, so there's other ways to kind of let it go and process it without knowing the exact reason. But when we can ask those questions, and this is probably why I loved being a journalist, I have that inquisitive mind, we can start to put the pieces together and have that understanding, and it allows us to give ourselves more grace and empathy. So the story here was I remembered that sometimes when I would go to my grandma's because she like lived on the farm, so she's not close to town, and she would just, have oh, it was around food. And I would get like, oh my gosh, did I pack snacks in case she doesn't have sweets and I get a craving? Like, whoo, that's big, and I didn't think about it at the time, it just, like, it was my reality. I do remember at one point thinking, like, "This might not be the healthiest relationship with food if I am getting a little, like, panicky of did I pack stuff to make sure that I can suppress or satisfy a craving if I'm at my grandma's for a couple days?" Um, but I have more tools and wisdom now than I did then. So that was kind of part of understanding that this default of turning to sugar when I feel like I need to be like self-soothed or whatever, um, part of an escapism, it goes back a while, right? It's not a new habit or behavior. And I got curious around that and it was like, okay, so this has been going on a while. And then yesterday morning, when I was waking up, I was still kind of like in between waking up and still in kind of a dream state. I was feeling anxious. And I remember I go straight to my breath now. That is something I've embodied. When I start to feel anxious, I start to bring in conscious breathing because it brings that prefrontal cortex back online, that decision making, problem solving. So I don't default just to that fear and emotional based driver of the amygdala. That is what allows me to step back from the feelings that I'm having, create a little just enough space not to escape it, but to create enough space that I can get curious of like, okay, what's my body telling me? What's this about? What's this popping up at? It was really early in the morning. I don't know if my husband was even out of bed yet, but it allows me, I don't know if I put my hand over my heart, but I definitely was doing some conscious breathing of like, okay, I need to regulate my nervous system a little bit and then get curious, like what's coming up? What is my body trying to tell me that I need to look at? And I had this, I don't remember if there was anything else to it because again, it's kind of one of those things sometimes when you're just waking up and you're like the dream is fading away, you remember it in that moment, but then it you don't after. So I don't know if there's anything more to it, but what stood out and what I remember is I had this really strong but steady and grounded thought or understanding. And what was coming to me as I was kind of waking up was you need to break up with sugar. Break up with it. And I thought that's really interesting because I hadn't really thought about it that way. Of like there's this reliance and it doesn't when we think of breaking up, we can break up in many different ways. It doesn't have to be just like a romantic partnership. We can kind of break up with friends if they're no longer in alignment with our values and stuff like that. We go on separate journeys. So the term is something I've been kind of thinking about since yesterday and the idea, and I might just kind of work it out in real time here, but it doesn't mean so what I was thinking about later was like, it doesn't mean I have to like fully eliminate it from my life. I'm sure like there's people who don't eat sugar. Maybe I'll get there. I do love my sweets in more ways than just as a coping thing, but I do need to break up in the sense of the dynamic that it plays, the role that it plays in my life, the kind of power that it has over my life and my choices with food. So breaking up in the sense of I'm taking back my power and now I drive the ship kind of thing instead of it influencing me like when we look back to the story I was talking about at my grandma's, like it was having influence over me of like make sure you have sweets with you in case she doesn't have anything that'll satisfy your craving. So this is the new realization I have and still processing it real time. Now I could have waited to talk about it, but I think there's power in sharing our journeys because it's relatable. And I know that I'm not the only one that struggles with these types of things. So if there's anyone listening to this that's resonating, I hope this is helpful and it starts to prompt curiosity within your own life and decisions and behaviors that you have that you can start to question it a little bit, get curious without shame, just get curious. It is what it is. Now, what's the driving force? And we have the power to decide through doing the work, am I going to continue to go down this road or I'm going to change some habits? And okay, I want to finish up here. I feel like this is a long episode. What I've been doing, I'll share what I've been kind of doing now. And I'm not perfect. I still had an ice cream sandwich after dinner. One, the tools that I'm using right now to help navigate this, other than having doing this kind of identity stuff and doing my own energetic work to kind of disconnect or cut the energetic ties to these behaviors and stuff, and having that understandings. The kind of real time tools I've been using is one, like body awareness, being more in my body when it comes to food, how foods make me feel, and starting to really get deeper into intuitive eating. So I think there was a time yesterday where my default was like, I just wanted something sugary. And I paused, I created a little bit of space to bring that, higher part of ourselves online. And I asked myself, would it actually like bring me joy and what's the word? Yeah, like would I really like enjoy having this sweet right now? Or do I just feel like I need it to need it? Am I actually even hungry right now? Or do I just want to eat it because I'm bored or whatever? And just asking myself that question, because then I'm not doing it. If I choose to have one, I'm mindful about it. And the answer that I got kind of intuitively or through my body was no, you don't. It's just going to be because it's a default thing. It wasn't going to be like I would really enjoy having like a piece of chocolate right now. So I decided not to. And it kind of dissipated. It wasn't something I was ruminating about after. So just bringing that conscious awareness and questioning it a little bit more of like, is this that default thing that I've been kind of working with and helping to shift, or would I just really enjoy a treat right now? And I wasn't even hungry. I realized that too. I'm like, I'm not even hungry. Am I bored? Like, what is, it doesn't really matter, but having the awareness. And then with movement, I've started back first walking. I like going for walks. I listen to podcasts. And then I hadn't been on my yoga mat in a bit because our basement had boat stuff in different places, and I didn't move my yoga area. Like I could have moved my mat somewhere else in the house. That's fine. But I chose not to. And so therefore I didn't practice. So I was getting the nudge now that things were kind of back in order to get back on my mat. And it was a day, I think last week, after I finished a yoga practice, I got this like nudge. My body nudged me and said, dust off your Jillian Michaels DVD and do a workout. And I did, and it felt amazing. So I've been listening to the nudges of my body of when it's time to kind of kick up the intensity, kick up the movement, instead of saying I should be doing this and putting my body through something maybe it's not ready for, as I build my capacity and my nervous system capacity after the last couple years. So I've been letting my body lead, and I do have to say I need to be accountable to this. I do get busy with other things and then I don't make it a priority, but my body does tell me like, hey, we need to do some movement. So I've been feeling that for today. I want to record one, maybe two podcast episodes and do a couple other things. I've been feeling the nudge to purge. I want to go through my clothes. It's time to switch over from winter to summer. I'm going to pull all my clothes out, go through, do a big purge, and maybe I'll do some, yes, not maybe, I will do some body movement with that, whether I go for a walk or get on my yoga mat. I was thinking about doing Jillian Michaels, but between scrubbing the mats yesterday with my arms, which is a good workout, squatting in my garden weeding, which got my legs, and doing the first night of beach volleyball last night, my body's kind of like, I don't know if it wants the intensity. So I think I'll do more of a nourishment. Like maybe I'll walk to the post office and do a loop around town and then come back and stretch on my yoga mat. I think it will give me some movement, but more nourishing than putting myself in more pain. I'm just gonna let my my muscles kind of Yeah, I can't. I got a little bit of brain fog. Recover. I knew it was an R word. Anyway, so that is up to date on this body image kind of wellness journey. I guess the other thing I meant to say is I also got curious about when I was in a good place with my weight and managing it and stuff. What were some of the things that I was doing at that time, and what can I implement again? I got back to my liquid collagen. It was really helping and making things just feel good. And getting back to my daily, if you're watching the YouTube channel, my daily protein shake. So I've been making it a priority instead of just like a sometimes. So as much as sometimes like the ego will say, I just have to get back to what I was doing. The reality is, especially if you've had a big change, like for me and a lot of weight gain, I can't get back to anything because my life isn't what it was at that time. It's a matter of where am I now? Where do I want to go? And what are some of the tools that have been helpful before that I can then implement again? So I'm not trying to go back anywhere because I simply can't. Life was a very different experience back then. I hope this helps. I hope there's a couple nuggets and that you can take away and bring curiosity into your own life. I feel like I'm turning into like a curiosity coach or mentor. The more curious we are, the more we can discover and help the natural evolution of ourselves that we go through during our life. So yeah, coming up this Sunday, if you're see if no, wait, never mind. This will be aired after Soul Care Hour, so never mind. I will be posting in the Living on Lemonade group the June schedule soon. I'm just finalizing some dates. I'm also thinking about not only thinking about I need to action. I've started the process, but starting an email list and like a maybe a monthly newsletter, maybe I'll start there and see how that feels, and I can do it more often if it feels right. I've also been building the Living on Lemonade YouTube channel. So if you like YouTube videos, I'm two-thirds of the way. I did number 40 last night. And we're currently at this will be 61. So I'm picking away at that as well. All right, everyone, have a wonderful whatever time of day that this is. And I'm on Instagram, the Living on Lemonade Facebook group. Say hi if we haven't met. If you've been enjoying the content, if you have questions, if you just want to chit chat a little bit, message me on the socials and I'd love to meet you on social media. All right, take care everyone and we will talk soon. Bye.